I'm Liz Faubles, and this is Currents. New York is seeing red. There's a new cardinal in town.
The hundreds of priests coming in, some wearing red, the cardinals, and then the soon-to-be now cardinals. It was just amazing seeing the red.
Plus, knowing the way, an actor shares some insights. And a feast before the 40 days.
Wanting to just have a good time with the parishioners, both adults and children, before we come to the holy season of Lent.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Well, he's now Cardinal Timothy Dolan. New York's Archbishop was one of 22 men elevated to the College of Cardinals by Pope Benedict on Saturday. It was just the latest honor for Cardinal Dolan, who kept everything in perspective while speaking with reporters after Saturday's consistory.
As grateful as I am for being a cardinal, I really want to be a saint. I mean that, and I got a long way to go, believe me. But it's all about holiness. It's all about friendship with Jesus. It's all about being a saint. That's what I want to be.
And Saturday was also a big day for another New Yorker. Bronx native Archbishop Edwin O'Brien was also elevated to cardinal. He said it's not just an honor.
It underscores the role of every bishop, every priest, every one of the baptized. But in the church, each time you get another quote-unquote honor or responsibility, the emphasis is stressed even greater. That this is not something very personal, something for as a reward. It brings on great responsibilities.
Well, I was in Rome all last week, along with net producer George Moran and program director Ryan Stewart, covering the events. I got a chance to sit down with Ryan earlier today to talk about the new Cardinals. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. You know, you witnessed a lot of the ceremony firsthand, sometimes gaining exclusive access to both cardinals. Tell us what that experience was like.
It was amazing. I mean, it really was amazing to see Cardinal Dolan and Cardinal O'Brien behind doors and in front of everyone else. I mean, we had the opportunity to get many interviews with Cardinal Dolan, and it was just really a great experience. He's such a great guy. His personality really shines forward a lot. I mean, he just has no problem talking at all. Kind of like myself a little bit, but he really does not stop talking. Cardinal O'Brien, a different personality. A great man, truly a great man, but a little bit more laid back, a little bit more quiet. You ask a question, he'll answer it. The next question. Dolan will answer the question and then tell you a story about it, maybe eat a hot dog and have a beer and then tell you some more. Like, he's just really wonderful with the press, and it's really great seeing them at the North American College, at the Jerusalem head office there with O'Brien. It was really just an incredible experience seeing these two great men being made cardinal in the consistory on Saturday.
You're absolutely right. I remember during an interview with Cardinal Dolan where he was actually sipping some hot chocolate, and we actually had to stop the interview because he had to dab his mouth a little bit.
That's right.
He's certainly very affable and very outgoing. But as you mentioned, two different men, yet they seem to complement each other in a way. Did you find that during the course of the interviews and speaking to them personally and exclusively on many occasions? Absolutely.
I mean, they spoke highly of one another. Even when we were talking with them, not when the cameras were going, but they really praised each other. I mean, Cardinal O'Brien was a mentor to Cardinal Dolan when they both were rectors at the North American College. They just so happy and so joyful, the both of them. But the personalities are, like we said, a little different, but they really learned a lot. And also, Cardinal O'Brien said he learned a lot from Cardinal Dolan. And even though he came after him, that they are still good friends, they talk often, and they really are just joyful men. They really are.
Obviously, this was a multicultural event, you know, cardinals from so many different regions, but our diocese, I'm very happy to say, was very well represented. We had opportunities to speak with a lot of people that we hold in very high regard, Father Fonte, Monsignor Jamie, people, you know, we know very personally, but in speaking to them after the ceremony, what was the sense you got from them having seen their brother priests and now cardinals elevated to this level?
The sense from them was just a complete joy, a complete happiness. Speaking with Bishop DiMarzio, Father Joe Fonte, Bishop Caggiano, Cisneros, Monsignor Jamie, a variety of local priests over there in Rome, there was just a joy of celebration, not only for the Archdiocese of New York for Cardinal Dolan, but for the Diocese of Brooklyn. It really shows the diversity of the church. It was really amazing sitting there in the press box where we were in the consistory in St. Peter's Basilica as the men, the hundreds of priests coming in, some wearing red, the cardinals, and then the soon-to-be now cardinals. It was just amazing seeing the red, which obviously means the sacrifice of one's self, a martyrdom, and that each man is willing to lay down his life. And it wasn't just the cardinals that do that. It is the bishops that were there, the priests, the monsignors. It was really amazing to speak with our local priests and bishops there and just to hear their side of what it meant for them to go about and to be a part of this big ceremony.
It really was, and I have to say, you could see the pride in their face. But what I really also want to mention was that you played an integral role in getting us access into several different aspects of the consistory that wasn't covered by the secular press, and not even by press, you know, that do a lot of what we do. And part of that was getting into the North American College.
That's correct.
And speaking with the rector and speaking with the seminarians, you know, a project that, you know, we will be forwarding a little bit further on in the future. But tell us why that was important to you, to make sure we had that exclusive access.
It was important for me to have that as director of programming here at NET. I really wanted to show what a man goes through in being called to the vocation of priesthood. So while we were there at North American College, which is the seminary for all Americans and some Canadians, it was a privilege to interview 4 or 5 of these seminarians to get the background of where they come from. What makes them want to become a priest? What makes them sacrifice being a lawyer, being actually in armed services? There's a variety of seminarians there. And it was really interesting talking to Monsignor Cecchio, who was the rector of the North American College, and getting his take on not only the cardinals and the consistory that week, but what the guys actually sacrificed, their homes, their family, and coming over to Italy to live for a year, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 years. And so it was really amazing just to show that the men there are actually real men. They're not guys that, oh, I want to sit and, you know, pray all day. No, they're guys that want to play ping pong, that will go and have a cigar and have drinks. And that's really what I want to show. And hopefully in this upcoming highlight reel that we'll have soon in the future, it will show some of these things that, you know, these guys are guys. You know, they're men's men that enjoy hanging out and being a part of the world, and it's not separated.
So really quickly, Ryan,
yeah.
As director of programming, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
What did you think of our coverage? Was it well-rounded, and
was
did
the
it meet
best,
your approval?
Yeah, it was the best coverage there was out there,
Okay.
I'm telling you. It was wonderful.
Awesome. We're very happy. And thank you so much for everything you did to actually make it happen.
My privilege.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Another American Archbishop announces consolidation in his diocese. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faubles. Coming up later, it's not New Orleans, but a parish in Queens celebrates their own Mardi Gras. First, let's have a look at the day's headlines. Well, you can add Ave Maria University to the list of institutes taking formal action against the contraception mandate. The Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty filed a lawsuit on behalf of Florida-based Catholic College. It's Beckett's 4th lawsuit against the mandate. They already sued on behalf of Belmont Abbey College, Colorado Christian University, and EWTN. Now, the mandate announced earlier this month forces most religious organizations to violate their beliefs by offering contraception, sterilization, and abortion-inducing drugs in their employee health plans. Well, consolidation is coming to the Archdiocese of Detroit. Archbishop Alan Vigneron announced Monday that 53 parishes will either close, merge, or otherwise reorganize over the next 5 years. Vigneron says the numbers don't lie.
We are seeing a decreased participation by Catholics in Sunday Mass. The statistic I have is that half of the people in my diocese who claim to be Catholic register in their parishes. And of those half, only 30% come to Mass every Sunday. So that's 15% of the people who are members of the Catholic Church are attending church, according to what we understand to be a baseline of participation. That's having an impact on our lives. There's a tremendous impact, obviously, on the financial resources that are available for our parishes, and we don't have enough priests. And in fact, as I understand the statistics and look at the analysis, this is not a Catholic problem. This is a religion in the United States problem. Lots of churches, synagogues, other communities have problems very similar to us.
Vigneron says faith and prudence demand action to ensure the church can continue its work for years to come. Jury selection is underway in a sex abuse trial in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. The Archdiocese's former Secretary of Clergy, a priest, a former priest, and a former teacher are on trial. The former secretary is accused of giving new assignments to priests who were known abusers. Opening arguments in the trial are scheduled for March 26. Meanwhile, the new apostolic nuncio to Ireland says Pope Benedict has been, quote, relentless in removing abusers from the priesthood. New York native Archbishop Charles Brown says Pope Benedict has been resolute and determined in instituting changes to deal more effectively with abuse. Brown spoke at a service in Dublin over the weekend, just 3 days after officially beginning in his new post as apostolic nuncio to Ireland. Elsewhere, Italy's prime minister wants the church to pay up. The government of Prime Minister Mario Monti has announced it will introduce a law to end the church's tax on exemption on commercial property. Estimates say it could bring the government and cost the church more than $1 billion. The Italian Bishops' Conference says it is waiting to see text of the new law before making a judgment. And meanwhile, the Vatican says one of its schools abroad needs to get in line with church doctrine. The Vatican Secretary of State met today with the rector of the Pontifical Catholic University of Peru. The rector was informed that the university must fall in line with the church's teaching. Among the issues in question is the school's refusal to allow the Archdiocese of Lima to elect the university's rector. From the Congo, 1 nun is dead and 3 priests and 2 nuns are under arrest in ongoing conflict over last year's presidential elections. National Catholic Reporter says 1 nun was stabbed in the heart in the incident at the school where she works. It's not clear why she was attacked. Meanwhile, 3 priests and 2 nuns were arrested in a separate incident. The bishops of the Congo had issued a statement last month calling the Congo's presidential elections corrupt and demanding that the president resign. Well, a bishop in Spain is putting his money where his mouth is. Rome Reports has those details.
Xavier Nobel is the youngest bishop in Spain from the region of Catalonia. In a statement called Everyone Against the Crisis, he's announced he will reduce his salary by 25% and donate it to social programs. He says it's a personal decision that he's made, but that his diocese will also be devoting 10% of their budget to help those who have been hurt the most by the economic crisis. At 43 years old, Novel's salary will drop from 1,200 euros to 900 euros a month. He's also invited other pastors to do the same, as well as calling for a larger role played by society in helping those who need it the most.
And finally, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem is asking Christians around the world to fast for peace in the Middle East during Lent. Archbishop Fouad Toual says the current situation in Jerusalem is not encouraging. He says that despite the sacrifices, all Christians must look forward to the resurrection. Well, stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Coming up, it's a journey steeped in history, and it hits home for one Hollywood family. The 2010 film The Way is out on DVD today. The movie, directed by Emilio Estevez and starring his father Martin Sheen, is about a father who travels the way of St. James in Spain after his son dies, trying to make the same pilgrimage. The walk turns into a spiritual journey of self-discovery. Now, the timing of the DVD release could not be more appropriate. Last Friday, then Cardinal designate Timothy Dolan referenced the movie in a speech about the new evangelization, which he delivered before Pope Benedict and the College of Cardinals. Dolan called the film star an icon of a secular man, self-satisfied, dismissive of God and religion, in search of something or someone more, a condition he says reflects the new evangelization's message of applying the invitation to gospel not only to believers, but also to those who once believed but lost their way. Well, I spoke recently with director and co-star Emilio Estevez about the movie's significance in his life and whether the making of the film has helped him find his own way. Emilio, I want to ask you first to tell us about the pilgrimage, the Way of St. James, Camino de Santiago, how you learned about it, and when and how you became inspired to bring that spiritual journey to the big screen.
Well, I never heard about the Way of St. James until my father and my son went to Spain in 2003. My son was working as my father's assistant on the West Wing, and they had a little break in between season 3 and 4. And my son was about 19 at the time. So off they went to Spain, and they didn't have the 6 weeks that you really need to do the entire pilgrimage. They had about 2 weeks. So it was impossible to do the journey in that short a period of time. So they rented a car, and they drove and hit the highlights. And one of the stops they made was a town called Burgos. And they checked into what we'd consider sort of a bed and breakfast that takes in pilgrims, and they sat down at the pilgrim's meal, and a young girl walked into the room. She was the innkeeper's daughter, and my son took a look at her and fell in love. And he's been living there for over 8 years now. They were married in 2009, and I figured, well, if I'm going to spend some time with my boy and his new wife, I better figure out how to make a film in Spain. So I began to talk about what that movie would look like with my father, and we came up with the story about a dad that loses his son because I kind of felt like I lost mine.
There were so many profound messages throughout the making of this film, I understand. One of the ones that really stick out with me is life is too big to walk it alone. It's a community where you're walking with God. Whoever God is,
right.
we are not alone on the planet. What
That's
does that
right.
mean to you?
Well, we're not alone, and we are in community, and I think that's why, people find themselves at Sunday service, because that is oftentimes the only sense of community we have in our lives these days, and we need that weekly reminder that we are not alone.
You have a very respectable body of work, so I really, really looked forward to watching the film, and I really came away thinking, this is a different Emilio Estevez than I'm used to. And I liked what I saw, but it kind of redefined you as an actor in my mind, and I loved it. Was this a sense of rediscovery for you? Did you discover a different aspect of who you are after this making of the film as an actor, as a person?
Well, I think, it's important to go away sometimes and then come back and figure some things out. Personal, make some personal changes in your life. I think that if you're an actor, if you are a director, a producer, filmmaker, you're responsible for the content that you put out there. When you say yes to a project, even as an actor, you're co-signing the content of that particular project. And there's so much negativity around us all the time that I think that we as artists have a responsibility to put something out that is enlightening, that lifts people up.
And I know you want the film to be successful. That goes without saying, but was the labor of love, like getting the message out there, was that rewarding in itself to you?
Well, of course, it was. And we did a 50-day tour across the country. And so we had an opportunity to screen it for, I'm going to hazard a guess and say somewhere between 35 and 40,000 people that we got to actually touch and hear feedback from and do Q&As with after each screening, sometimes 2 a night. So we know the profound impact that the film had on people. It may not have been reflected in an enormous box office, but we continue to get letters, whether it's personal letters to Martin and I, or letters that are posted on our Facebook wall, or people writing into the website and saying, thank you for making this film. Thank you for having this profound effect on my life with these characters that you've created with this piece of work. And I've never experienced that before in my life. people actually saying thank you for making it.
You talk about your dad in past interviews about the film. Your father described your spontaneity, your passion, your openness to embracing God-given amazement like a sunset. Have you always been this deeply spiritual?
Well, you know what? If I haven't been in touch with it in the way that I am now, and I think that just comes from maturity and paying attention and being open.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I did as well. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Emilio Estevez, director and co-star of The Way, which is out on DVD now. Stay tuned. There's more Currents ahead. When we return, one final celebration ahead of the 40 days.
People just have one last chance to eat what they like before they decide what it is that they want to give up for the holy season of Lent.
And finally tonight, it's one last opportunity to stuff yourself. Tomorrow is Ash Wednesday, and the day before that is popularly known as Mardi Gras or Fat Tuesday, when people fill up before a day of fasting. St. Clair's Parish in Rosedale got the party started early with a celebration this past weekend.
How about we give it up once again to our DJ Lucian as we begin Mardi Gras 2012 at St. Clair's.
We're so happy to have here at St. Clair's our annual Mardi Gras Carnivale party. Wanting to just have a good time with the parishioners, both adults and children, before we come to the holy season of Lent. Lent lasts for about 40 days as we make sacrifice by giving up certain things during that time. We now enjoy a little bit of that extra before we make those sacrifices and those ways in which we seek to draw closer to Jesus in anticipation of celebrating the holy time of Easter.
The community here at St. Clair's is dominantly from the West Indies, from the Caribbean. So back in their homeland, they're used to having a Mardi Gras celebration. So it's a wonderful opportunity for them to celebrate it here, right at home.
We have dancing, food, prizes to be won, raffles. We are a very tight community. We tend to stay together. We participate in all the activities. And Mardi Gras happens to be, as Father said, a carnival, which is the last of the meats that you do before Lenten season.
What does it mean Mardi Gras and what does it mean Carnivale? The word Mardi Gras does come from the French language. Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday. It's the day before we celebrate Ash Wednesday. People just have one last chance to eat what they like before they decide what it is that they want to give up for the holy season of Lent. The word Carnivale, just from the Latin, that it means that we say farewell to meats, as we do abstain from meats during the holy time of Lent, particularly on Ash Wednesday and on Good Friday. So the two words are expressions for us to continue to hold fast to and to allow ourselves to celebrate before we come to that time of penitence and really just self-observance for our own person to draw closer to Jesus.
Macaroni and cheese, rice and peas, and stewed chicken. We're filling up so that we'll be comfortable during the season.
One of the hopes that we have here, besides all the aspects of preparing for the holy season of Lent, is just to allow the parishioners, their friends, guests of the neighborhood, to come and be with each other. It's a real form of community building, a great form of evangelization as we do welcome people from different faith communities, other Christian groups to be with us. It's a fun and a good evening for everybody that comes and joins us.
And that is all for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, lines will be out the door at churches, part of the observance of Ash Wednesday. We'll head to St. James Cathedral in downtown Brooklyn, where Bishop DeMarcio will celebrate Mass. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. You can follow us on Twitter and catch up with us on Facebook. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a great night.